The research vessel Covenant of Mines drifted in a high orbit above Earth, its observation decks humming with soft bioluminescent light. Professor Valith Aruna stood before a floor-to-ceiling viewport, her four elongated fingers pressed flat against the cool transparasteel, her iridescent eyes unblinking. Below, the blue planet rotated with infuriating serenity. "Play it again," she said. The screen on the wall flickered. The footage resumed grainy, captured by a surveillance drone during a routine atmospheric survey 3 weeks ago. On the screen, a human male in a field jacket crouched beside a large, fanged predator of the species Panthera leo. The lion, an apex predator whose jaw pressure could shatter bone, sat still. The human pressed his face into the animal's mane and wrapped both arms around its neck. The lion did nothing. The lion, if Valith was reading the biosensors correctly, appeared to be enjoying it. "I have reviewed this footage 47 times, she said quietly, to no one in particular. Behind her, a voice answered anyway. 48 for me, said Ethan Cross, leaning against the doorframe with a mug of coffee steaming in his hand. He was the only human aboard the Covenant of Mines, on loan from the Xenobiological Exchange Program, a diplomatic initiative barely 2 years old. He was, Valith had noted in her field logs, distressingly comfortable everywhere he went. She turned. "You knew about this behavior? The cuddling?" He walked in, stepping over a coil of data cable without looking down. "Yeah. Lions are social. They groom each other. If you spend enough time with one and it trusts you, it'll let you close. That animal could remove your head." "Sure could." Valith stared at him. "And you find this acceptable?" Ethan considered the question with what she had come to recognize as his thinking face, a slight squint, a tilt of the jaw. "I find it kind of nice, actually." She made a sound her people used to express the sensation of stepping on an unexpected texture in the dark. The briefing had started 3 hours earlier, before the footage loop had consumed Valith's entire afternoon. The Interspecies Cultural Research Committee had assigned her to produce a formal report on human tactile bonding behaviors, subcategory, interspecies contact. It was supposed to be a 3-page overview. Standard academic work. Then she had opened the data archive. The archive contained 4,400 years of recorded human behavior, recently digitized and submitted as part of Earth's formal cultural disclosure package. Valith had searched the term affectionate physical contact with non-human animals, expecting perhaps a dozen entries. She had received over 9 million. Humans did not merely tolerate animals. They invited them into their sleep spaces. They constructed soft furniture specifically for them. They made small voices at them, higher pitched than their normal register, as if the animal were a juvenile of their own species. They carried them in bags. They pushed them in wheeled conveyances. They photographed them continuously and shared these images with other humans across global communication networks at a rate that, by her calculations, constituted approximately 14% of all human digital activity. And it was not only domesticated animals. It was bears, kept in sanctuary environments, whose caretakers wrestled them and scratched behind their ears. It was octopuses in marine research stations that would extend an arm toward the researchers, and the researchers would take that arm and hold it. It was wild deer that wandered into suburban gardens and were hand-fed by elderly humans in oversized knitwear. It was enormous, lumbering tortoises with estimated lifespans longer than most civilizations Valith had studied, being serenely petted on the head by laughing children. It was a human Ethan Cross, specifically, in footage from his field work, lying flat on his back in a meadow while approximately 30 juvenile goats walked across his body. He had been laughing. "Walk me through the goat incident," Valith said that evening, pulling up the relevant clip. Ethan sat across from her at the research table, spinning a stylus between his fingers. He looked at the screen, then back at her, and the corner of his mouth curved upward. "Baby goat yoga," he said. "It's a thing. You were being walked on. Lightly. They're small. You were horizontal and defenseless in an open field while multiple animals used your thorax as a stepping surface. They were baby goats, Velith. The qualifier baby does not address the core concern. He set the stylus down. He seemed to be deciding how to explain something he had never needed to explain before, because in his world, it required no explanation. Velith found this happened often. Humans had a vast archive of things they simply did, without ceremony or framework, that left her groping for theoretical structures that didn't exist yet. Okay, he said. You study cultures, right? You've seen how bonding behaviors reinforce social cohesion in group species? Of course. Humans extend that instinct outward. We don't really have an off switch for it. If something is small, or soft, or makes sounds that pattern match to vulnerability, we respond. We want to protect it. We want to be near it. We want to, he paused, searching for precision, we want to communicate safety to it. Through touch. Velith was quiet for a moment. You want the animal to know it is not in danger. And that we're not either. It's a two-way thing. When a big animal, something that could hurt you, chooses not to, and lets you close, that means something. It's trust being extended across a gap that could have been a threat. She looked at the frozen image on the screen, Ethan on his back, a tiny goat standing squarely on his ribcage, ears alert, eyes bright. You sought to establish a trust bridge, she said slowly, with a species incapable of verbal communication, using only your physical vulnerability as currency. Ethan blinked. Then he grinned, that wide, unguarded expression she had catalogued as genuine human delight, distinct from the polite smile and the diplomatic smile and the I am trying not to laugh smile. I never thought about it that way, he said. But yeah. Exactly that. Velith added 7 more pages to her report that night. She wrote about the asymmetrical courage implicit in human tactile bonding, the way a creature with soft skin and no natural armor would approach something with claws or venom or weight and offer its open hand. She wrote about the evolutionary paradox of a species that had survived partly by fearing predators and partly by refusing, at the species level, to maintain that fear indefinitely. She wrote about the way human children were raised alongside animals, learning in their earliest cognition that the line between self and other was permeable, that warmth could be shared across species boundaries, that a heartbeat was a heartbeat regardless of what body housed it. She wrote about what it meant that when humans met a creature they could not speak to, their first instinct was not to categorize it, or assess its threat level, or maintain a respectful observational distance. Their first instinct was to reach out and see if it would let them close. She filed the report at 0300 ship time. Then she sat for a long while looking at the blank screen. At 0400, she went to find Ethan. He was in the observation lounge, predictably, because he went there whenever he couldn't sleep, which her logs indicated was frequently. He was sitting cross-legged on the bench, looking at Earth below, a blanket around his shoulders. He turned when she entered. Raised an eyebrow. You're up late, he said. I had a thought, she said, and she sat down across from him, which she did not usually do. She was a researcher. She maintained appropriate professional distance. It was important to observe without contaminating the data. She had been contaminating the data since approximately week 2. When your species makes first contact with a new civilization, she said, what is your first response? Ethan thought about it. Depends on the person. But mostly? Curiosity. And some version of, I wonder if we can get along. You reach toward the unknown, she said, to see if it will permit closeness. He looked at her. Yeah, he said. I guess we do. Velith was quiet. Then she reached out and set her four-fingered hand, very carefully, on the armrest between them. Not touching him. Not quite. Just near. Ethan looked down at it. Then he looked up at her. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He recognized the gesture for exactly what it was, because he was human, and reading intention across the gap between species was, apparently, something humans had been practicing since before they had words for it. He unfolded one hand from the blanket and set it on the armrest beside hers. Two different biologies, breathing the same recycled air, orbiting the same improbable blue world. Close enough. The report Professor Vailith Aruna submitted to the Interspecies Cultural Research Committee was later cited as the foundational text of the field now known as cross-species empathy studies. In her acknowledgments, she thanked one human xenobiologist and one very patient goat.